Hey Hermits, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dara and today I'm going to be sharing my Pride Month TBR. So it's June, which means not only is it my birthday, but it is also Pride Month, meaning that this month I want to really be intentional about supporting authors who are LGBTQIA+ and centering stories that feature characters from that community too. So as you are probably very well aware at this point, I am not the best at following TBRs, so I have quite a small stack that I'm going to challenge myself to read this month, and if I manage to pick up anything extra, then I will be extra pleased with myself and I will talk about those in my monthly wrap up. But these ones are going to be the priority books that I'm really going to keep front of mind and try and pull from all month long. And you know, Gemini brain, I'm easily distracted. I easily follow that shiny object and try and pick up something else, but I really do want to make these a priority for the month. Okay, so I think I have quite a nice selection here in terms of variety of style and genre and vibe, so I'm feeling pretty optimistic that I will get to each of these books. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first book that I want to read this month is Boy Queen by George Lester, and this is the story of a young man who feels like he's got everything together. He has a secret boyfriend, he has his life on Broadway all mapped out, he is so grounded and certain and knows that everything's going to be great, and then something happens, all of his nightmares come true and he sort of hits rock bottom. So what he decides to do in that moment is to throw himself into the fabulous world of drag, and this is his story really coming into that world and really learning about who he is, what he wants, what he's capable of, and I just think it's going to be a stunning time. I love reading stories about drag, and whether they are memoirs or fiction, and I just think I'm going to have a great time with this. Then we have Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. So you might have already seen the book haul where I bought this as part of my secondhand book buying challenge. If I've already posted that, I will pop a link in the description box. This tells the story of a rather complex family. So we have a detransitioned man. So he was a trans woman in a relationship with another trans woman, and they separated because she wanted children. And after detransitioning, he got his boss pregnant. And so he reconnects with his former love and asks her to be involved with raising this child. So they've got a very atypical family structure, and I've heard wonderful things about this, so I know I'm gonna enjoy it. And I've had it on my sort of radar for such a long time, and I've wanted to read it for such a long time. I just don't know why I haven't picked it up yet, but this is the month that that's going to change. Next on the list we have In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, and this is, I believe, the only non-fiction on my list. So this is a memoir, but it's from everything I've heard, it's very lyrical and poetic and creative. It's not just a standard beginning, middle, end kind of memoir, but this tells the story of obviously Carmen, who was in an abusive same-sex relationship, and it's about really navigating that, how that experience and all of the challenges that come with it. I don't know too much about the rest of the plot. I know the general premise, but I've heard wonderful things about this author's writing, and I'm excited to dive into it. The reason that I put this on the list is because I'm a big mood reader. You know I'm a big mood reader, and if all of the books that I have in front of me are happy books, you can guarantee that I'm going to have a sad girl moment or a serious moment or a dark moment and want to pick up something entirely different. So when I create these little TBRs for myself, I do try and make sure there's something for all vibes, so that if I do have a mood like that, I've got something that I can pick up. Next, we have The Man Who Fell in Love with the Moon by Tom Spanbauer, and I have been wanting to read this book ever since I first saw it. I had never heard of it until I came across it in a bookshop, read the blurb, and I was like, oh my god, this book is for me. And for some reason, I haven't read it yet, and I don't know why. Make it make sense. Well, I can make it make sense. I just buy too many books, and it's not physically possible to read at the speed that I can shop. So that's where we are. But this tells the story of a young man who works at a whorehouse in a small town in, I think it's in the desert in America. And anyway, he has this very clearly like eccentric life, and he ends up falling in love with let's say troublesome green-eyed cowboy, and it's about their adventures together. And I just think it's going to be, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be intoxicating. I think it's going to be, I like, whenever I've talked about this book before, I describe it as being like driving around with the top down under like a night sky full of stars on a hot summer day. Like, that is the vibe that I get from this book, and I don't know why, like I don't know why that is just what comes to mind whenever I see this, but it is, and I am genuinely excited to read this book. I think this might be the one on the list that I'm most giddy about, so we'll probably be starting here. Then we have Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore, and I've had this on my shelves for such a long time now. As soon as I A, saw the cover, and B, read the synopsis, I knew I wanted to read this book, so I picked it up. I don't know too much about the plot at this point because it was quite a few years ago that I purchased this. But when I was sort of putting some stuff into Goodreads a while ago, I saw that someone had described it as the story of a family of queer women of colour, which is why I have picked it up for Pride Month. And I'm finally going to get to this. I need to read it. So here's the thing. I have a habit of buying this author's books and just not reading them. I have, I think, 3 or 4 of their books sitting on my shelves, and I haven't read any of them. And I just know, like I know in my heart that I will love their writing. So I just need to pull my finger out and get to it. And then last but not least, we have a bit of a wild card, which is Future Feeling by Joss Lake. And this isn't a book that I've seen anybody talk about ever. I picked this up at this tiny, tiny hole-in-the-wall indie bookshop in Nottingham, and it sounds like nothing that I would usually read. It is totally outside of my comfort zone. It sounds very speculative and sci-fi, and that is just not my usual reading genre. For some reason, as much as I love watching sci-fi, I just don't want to read sci-fi. But so this tells the story of a trans man who is kind of obsessed with becoming famous. Like, he wants to be an influencer, he wants to be a star, but it's just not working out for him. And he's kind of obsessing over this other trans man, Aiden, who is like getting all of the results that he wants. So he is getting the followers, he's getting the opportunities, he's getting all of that stuff. And so I believe, I don't know if they like get drunk and hex Aiden, but somehow the hex bypasses Aiden and sends another young trans man into like this alternate dimension where like the world is completely like whack. So our protagonist, I didn't mention his name, Penfield has to sort of go to this alternate dimension and find Blythe, this other trans man that he has banished there, and bring him back. And it just sounds so weird and so unusual, but I was captivated by the cover. There was something about it that just spoke to me. So we're going to give it a go. And I'm going to stay optimistic. So there you have it. That is my little Pride Month TBR, and I am feeling pretty excited about diving in to each and every one of these. I would love to hear from you in the comments if you've actually read any of these already. Obviously don't like leave any spoilers, but if you have any thoughts about which one I should start with, definitely let me know. And if you have any other recommendations for great Pride Month books, so books written by LGBTQIA plus authors, then pop those recommendations in the comments too, and I will add more things to my wish list, which is one of my favourite hobbies, as you well know. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a fabulous day, and I will see you in my next upload.